A pleasure to be here today and look forward to your questions. I'll kind of crank through slides. You can ask questions while I'm briefing. If you have questions, don't wait until the end. If you want to rather have a dialogue with you while I'm working, okay? Next slide. Okay, so from a mission perspective, the Rapid Equipping Force focuses on equipping deployed and deploying forces with existing technologies, with non-standard equipment. We focus on inserting technologies that are emerging. We partner with labs and we partner with industry to insert emerging technologies into the deployed and deploying forces, and we provide assessments back to leadership on those capabilities. Those are our three core areas: equip, insert, and assess. Want to point out that the Rapid Equipping Force was a let's say it's a provisional unit for the first 10 years, 12 years of its existence. It was stood up in 2002 under the vice chief, and the idea was to get capability to the field quicker than was capable in the conventional acquisition process. It was modeled after existing processes within the Special Operations Command, and we took those processes, and the vice at the time stood up the Rapid Equipping Force as a direct report unit charged with equipping units with existing technologies to increase capabilities of the warfighter in the fight. That's what we were charged to do. Recently, as of last year in January, the Rapid Equipping Force was institutionalized under TRADOC. Okay, that's important for you all to know. Under TRADOC, especially when they're talking innovate and adapt, and the new Army operating concept is focused on those areas. The Army at the same time, or a year earlier, decided to institutionalize a hybrid acquisition organization. I say hybrid because it's more than acquisition. A hybrid requirements and acquisition organization that really is focused and has been focused on the last 10 or 12 years to inserting capabilities in a rapid way, increasing the pace of innovation, okay? I mean, that's really what the focus of the REF was stood up for. That's what it's been doing for the last 10 years, and we'll walk through and I'll talk to you about that as we go through the slides. Next slide. Okay, so how does it do that? How do we do what we do? The real magic in the sauce, guys, is the requirements authority. My director is a colonel in the United States Army. He is a senior colonel in the United States Army, and he's been delegated the approval authority of requirements. Okay, so if it's a 10-liner and we're working with a deployed force and we've defined the tactical problem with that deployed force, 10-liner comes in, he can approve the acquisition or investment towards solving that tactical problem. All right, that's huge because that eliminates the huge requirements process side. That doesn't provide a capability right away, but it sure gets the investment working towards that solution set. So the requirements approval authority is what really makes the magic in the Rapid for the Rapid Equipping Force. Second pillar there, you can see it's funding. Okay, the Rapid Equipping Force has a POM line, and has been funded in the POM since about 2005. Okay. We have base and OCO dollars. We have research dollars, investment dollars, and OMA dollars. Okay, so we have a wide spectrum of dollars that we can use to help solve problems and to invest in a rapid fashion towards those requirements that were approved by the director. Finally, we have an acquisition arm that's in direct support of the colonel. I have a GS-15 on the staff that's a PEO soldier employee. This is different from in the past, but with the institutionalization of the REF, the Army Acquisition Executive signed a concept and an acquisition decision memorandum charging PEO soldier with milestone decision authority over the REF and charging them to provide an acquisition GS-15 product lead. So the GS-15 acquisition professional is in direct support of the REF on a daily basis, cohabitates with us within the Rapid Equipping Force buildings, and is charged with making sure that all acquisitions are done in concert with the acquisition decision memorandum and in proper alignment with policies back through the MDA. Next slide. Okay, so how do we you've seen these up here in the past, adaptation, improving the pace of adaptation. innovation. Okay, innovation and differentiation. Once you have a requirement, if you're locked into a requirement in the deliberate acquisition process, you're going to have a hard time shifting left and right. Once that requirement is signed, that's the challenge from the requirements authorities back over to the professional acquisition world to make sure that you meet the requirement, meet what's needed for the Army. What the ref has the ability to do is take a look at problem sets, approve our requirements, and insert technologies at a much more rapid pace. We can insert technologies. If they work, we can continue to work with the units and improve that technology, the units and industry, and we can refine our requirement and provide output. You see the arrows pointing down towards the innovation line. We could provide output back through TRADOC and through the proponents and through the requirement writers as to what the capabilities are that are being fielded, what their current performance is, so that they can get the future requirements much closer to right. Next slide. Okay, so adapt in the near term. So here's where we're trying, to meet an existing problem set that we've adopted from the field or encountered in the field. I put up a couple examples up there. You'll see the aerostat on the bottom left corner. The aerostat is tactical aerostat. It's not one of the big PDIDs type aerostats. This was done based on observation of how critical the strategic aerostats became to COPS and FOBs in Iraq. The tactical aerostat was inserted based on a director's initiative. We adopted what was being used, put it in the field at the tactical level. They're much smaller. They don't have the same type capability. Interestingly enough, as we started withdrawing from Afghanistan, this capability that was just a trial decided by the director as an insert, a technology insert, became a mandate by the U.S. forces in Afghanistan that no FOB could close without a tactical aerostat up. Okay, so that's an example of taking a product, adapting it to a different problem set, and seeing how it became, no kidding, critical to the closure of COPS and FOBs. Containerized weapon station. The next one over, that's it. Basically, it's a remote weapon station that's on a hydraulic arm, teamed with both PM soldier weapons, teamed with PM CSS, and we've basically integrated the two systems together. The systems now are being fielded within Iraq, Afghanistan, and we have some slated for the Horn of Africa. But it's basically taking an existing capability with the Crow's weapon station and putting it in more of a FOB defense role, adapting that capability to a different use. Okay, next, before you go, Expeditionary Lab. One of our key areas that we work right now is we have Expeditionary Lab Forward. The Expeditionary Lab has 3D printing capability. It has an 11 Bravo senior enlisted soldier, and it has an engineer from RDECOM FAST teams. We've basically had this capability in the field for approximately 10 years. However, we've adapted the capability now to the current force. We've teamed with RDECOM. We're using the FAST team engineers from RDECOM in providing a capability forward to solve tactical problems that soldiers encounter. Our 11 Bravo can meet with the engineer as well as the deployed forces, and they can look at problem sets, bring them back to the lab, manufacture prototypes within the lab, check to see if they work on the problem set that's been encountered, and then given success through the reach back capability to RDECOM, we can mass produce products that meet the capability gap that's lacking forward. Next slide. Okay, so everyone knows that the war effort's kind of it's on a downswing, and we've got less forces deployed. You might not be able to make out the slide, but the bottom slide is requirement. The bottom bar line is 2013 requirements. The middle line is 2014 requirements, and you can see on the top line that we're exceeding the volume of requirements by already in this fiscal year that we had in the prior years. Okay, so the cumulative requirements over time. You can see the breakout where we're doing most of our work. Most of our work is being done in the ISR realm. It's also being done in soldier soldier equipment realm. Those are the two primary driving areas that we've been receiving requirements on. We're on a glide path right now with what's going on between Iraq and Afghanistan and Horn of Africa to exceed our requirements levels of prior years. Next slide. Okay, so recent requirements, where they focus, gave you a quick purview there. Elevated ISR. Entry control point work, soldier gear. A lot of tactical comms work, a lot of issues. People are asking why would the requirements be going up? Why would we have a greater span of requirements than we've had in the prior years? The real answer is you've got less guys on the ground and they need more capability on the ground. They're deploying with what they have and they're still having gaps based on the mission sets they're handed. And so we're meeting that, we meet with those units forward, we discuss it, we come back and we generate 10-liners and fill the gaps that they're facing. Next slide. Okay, some parting thoughts. Mostly industry in here, I assume, and folks that we've worked with in the past. I do see some folks that are familiar faces that we've worked with in the past. We are big on leveraging industry, teaming with industry, partnering with industry. You can see that. You can see by our techniques or by the authorities that we have to have a large net out there to try and find technology and find existing capabilities. We're not interested in something that's going to take 2 or 3 years to get to the field. We're interested in something that can take 180 days to get to the field. All right, that's where we're really working. Our timeline's about 180 days. If something takes longer than that, we can set aside a special project for it. But again, we're trying to provide immediate capability to the field and then provide that feedback to the requirements folks and to the senior leadership so they understand what technologies can work to mitigate the problem set that they're facing. Okay, based on that, I'm going to open it up for questions, if anyone has any questions. Excellent. Bye, Tim.
Mr. Frulla, so I think you said there was about 300 and, how many requirements do you have now that you received? I think, is it 500 or something like that?
We're pushing almost 400 requirements.
Oh, okay, so what percentage of those get filled or get acted on, and how do you determine what priorities are with so many requirements coming in?
Okay, so I don't have the exact breakout of what's getting filled. They get denied by exception. All right, and a lot of times you got to remember you got a lot more smaller forces deployed. A lot of these requirements are for smaller volume of articles, and it's not. I'm not equipping 25,000 guys out there. All right, there's 5,000 or there's about 10,000 in Afghanistan. Mostly we're equipping ODAs and things like that in Afghanistan, and there's a maneuver brigade in Afghanistan. In Iraq, again, you've got a very small footprint, so the volume of materials we're buying is much smaller. The determination factor of whether we'd address it or not, or cancel a requirement, is if it's in direct competition of a PM program of record. If there's an existing Army capability, we typically don't support, especially if there's an opportunity to facilitate that with the PM of record and get the product that's the program of record to the field. Second time we won't support is if it's MFP 11 specific, if it's soft unique. If it's a soft unique capability and there's no way that we could determine we'd get the same request from a conventional infantry battalion or engineer battalion, it's likely we're not going to support it. We've seen some unique requirements come in recently that are really in the soft unique realm. Those are the two areas where you'd probably see a non-support from us. We validate requirements that we don't have funding for, okay? And then we go through UFOR drills just like the rest of any other acquisition element. So we'll rack and stack the requirements that we don't have the funding for and bring it into the bill payers and bring it in to the UFOR drills. So I would say that it's by exception they're canceled, and I'd say probably 10 or 15% might be ones that are not supported and kicked back.
And with those, that amount of requirements coming in, you talked about the tactical aerostat and how that was an insertion of technology, not so much a 10-liner.
Right.
So with those requirements coming in, how much flexibility does the REF maintain in really analyzing new technology or capability that a unit hasn't asked for to go out to the units?
Yeah. So the way the REF is organized right now, you have two solution teams. Solution teams are focused on the equip function. Okay, so they're led by lieutenant colonels, and they have acquisition majors that support those teams. The solution teams focus on the equip function. I also have a technology outreach section that should be out scouting, doing the tech scouting, entertaining what capabilities are out there and looking at what's next. Because I've been fielding an aerostat for 3 years doesn't mean to me that I shouldn't be sustaining that aerostat and looking at if tactical aerostat is something that's required for the next 3 years. That's my cutoff. No requirement. It's required for about 3 years. I say let's go look at see what's next in tech. What's next? What technological increase can we put on those on an aerostat? How much farther can I see? Can I use it for targeting? Start looking at those kind of technology inserts and upgrade the systems in the field that we're already maintaining. So it's about, if there's nothing out there for the acquisition world, if there's no requirement in process, that's a 2-year process. If there's no OPR, that's time. There's a POM time. Then I'll continue to, if it's something the field is continuing to demand, to look at what's next in the realm of those potential solution areas. Aerostat's a good example. Containerized weapon station's another good example.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Hi, Nick Warren. I'm with the Silicon Valley-based Internet of Things company. Thanks for your time and presentation. I found it very thought-provoking. My question is, if we're a Silicon Valley-based company or if we're similar, what's the best way to get a new innovative idea to you, both if the rec exists or doesn't exist, and also with the BAA?
Okay, we put out when we're looking for a specific technology. We put out wide area announcements. We use the same BAAs. We do the Fed Biz Ops type stuff when we're looking for specific options. What we haven't been doing is general industry days, and it was brought up. I spoke at 12:30 at the other side. So we probably need to incorporate general industry days maybe once a year where we start talking about what you guys are capable of inserting also. The next step you would want to do is right there. You see, you email us. If you hit the email, if you Google Rapid Equipping Force, you're going to come up with our page, and we have a corner for you to submit ideas and recommendations at. And somebody, typically it'll be looked at by my technology team and by the on-staff scientist, and they'll say, hey, maybe we want to do some more with this, or we'll provide a response back. But those are ways of getting your ideas off the cuff in, and then you can just straight up request an office call.
Great, thanks so much for your help.
Okay.
Sir Westenski with Strategos Consulting. We've had a world of success with the REF. Worked with you guys on multiple occasions and really found it to be an amazing place to culture and to cultivate new technology and have it come out. One of the things that has always played a huge role in the warfighter is training. Training isn't directly war fighting necessarily, but you have to train in order to war fight. The REF is almost exclusive to not a training specific development. Is there a counterpart that works within the training forces?
That's okay. So that would be STRICOM, PO STRI. I mean, PO STRI is responsible for the training and training aids, but all the PMs are also responsible for the training of their devices. I'm not sure if I'm capturing your question. There was if you were over at the Army tent over there, whatever you guys call it here, the Army table, you saw that there was a electronic sand table sitting there. There's one where you might look at that as a training device, training aid that we're absolutely wanting the team with the folks to insert into CONUS-based organizations. I'll have to use base dollars, insert it in there, and provide feedback. So there is room for us to do that. But for the most part, we're non-standard. We're focused on the non-standard equipment, and the training that we develop for that equipment, we'll train our trainers to provide, and then we'll build training packages for units.
The mindset behind the REF of being able to search for requirements and develop requirements to meet emerging technology is brilliant. And we're not seeing that it has necessarily a counterpart within traditional acquisition, especially traditional acquisition within training only.
Yeah, I can't give you a different answer. But I
Fair
appreciate
enough.
that.
Me neither.
Okay.
Vikram from Intelligent Automation. We are an R&D company, and we've worked with the REF before. Could you give us some guidance on what is the follow-up process once you've done a little business with the REF and provided some technology for technology insertion? What happens next?
Okay, so it all depends on what happens with the product or the capability. I'm less concerned with the exact product I want to make sure I'm real clear here, guys. I'm less concerned with transitioning a product that I bought from you to an Army or Army POR than I am informing on the capability that your product might provide. Because in the long run, getting the requirement proper, using your technology as a surrogate for something that might be a program of record to help define a requirement, that's of critical importance, and that's really good. Maybe, but what happens follow on with a project when we're done with it, or with a capability, if you will. I don't know exactly what product you sold to us, but if there's no more demand, we divest. Earlier, the fellow that spoke right before me was talking about failures. We don't mind failing. And so we might buy something and try it in a realm that's not even what you, as a commercial industry, might have built it for. But we're going to try it and try it in that realm and see if it's hardened, would it work better, and take a look at it. But if we fail, we're quick to cut. We're not going to keep on worrying about that. Where the capabilities work well, we're going to keep on working there, but the real output is informing the requirements process and the senior leadership that there's a existing technology that should be sought after and institutionalized. I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
Bye, General McGinnis.
Hi, Rachel Adams, Rafael Advanced Defense Systems. Just kind of a general question. With the past year and a half of the drawdown of the REF, the redesign, and the transition over to TRADOC, how do you feel that the REF is handling that?
Okay, so I think I heard your question well. How are we handling the transition to TRADOC, right? And who did you say you were from? Are you a reporter?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm joking. No, the transition to TRADOC is going. So in the last 18 months, I want you guys to think about this. In the last 18 months, we were assigned a headquarters DAG3 direct report. We picked up a direct relationship with the ASALT Army Acquisition Executive and that staff, and now we are a direct report as of 30 January, I believe it was, to General Mangum, the DCG at TRADOC, and all that staff can bring to us. So there's still some confusion out there about reporting, what do we have to report, things along those lines. So that you're going to have that friction either way, no matter what. In preparation for the transition, we lost 30% of our DA civilians. Straight up, boom, 30% reduction in the DA civilians heading over to TRADOC. Okay, that was something that was directed. That's how it had to happen. How are we doing and how are we handling it? We lost a lot of expertise, and we lost a lot of, we did lose expertise in the transition. That said, we have a organizational structure that's flexible, and we're capable of ramping that back up with contract support as long as we're covering down on all inherently governmental functions. I'm going through a process right now with my staff to make sure that we've organized it appropriately, that we have identified all inherently governmental functions, that I have the proper government oversight where and I plan on reporting back out on that to TRADOC if I've got an issue. Right now, I don't foresee an issue. I've got enough military where I also can cross-level into those inherently governmental functions. So really it boils down to where's the best synergies for the REF as an institutionalized capability. Because it doesn't matter so much to me who my bosses are. It matters to, if you went back to that unique authority slide, that we retain the unique authorities and we're able to, no kidding, accelerate the pace of innovation. Okay? If you take away any one of my pillars on that second slide, or third slide, not covered. If you take away funding, REF is slow, because then we have to go to the building to get money. If you take away the requirements approval authority within the directorate, you're going to slow us way down. If you take away dedicated acquisition professionals, we won't be able to get stuff on contract. So it's really that triad chart there that matters. The output probably aligns really well with elements of TRADOC and with components within TRADOC. The output of informing the Army on where certain capabilities are, where requirements should be written, and how this, no kidding, works in the field, even if it's a threat to an existing POR, is critical so that we move the acquisition process faster, or we move the innovation process faster. So it's something. So I think we're positioned well within TRADOC. I felt we were positioned fine within HQDA. That said, I see synergies with us on the TRADOC staff, and I see synergies with us with the proponents in the Center of Excellence that will help accelerate process and innovation.